When I was trying to lose weight, I was doing 2 hours of sweaty cardio a night. But then I lost 55 pounds and I did it by doing less exercise, not more. I'm going to break down cardio, weights, and Pilates. Which one is actually the best to lose weight and tone up, and which should you stop wasting your time with? All of that spin, Zumba, body combat, it worked for a while, but then my progress just stopped. I wish someone had explained the cardio fitness penalty to me back then. The more cardio you do, the fitter you become, the less calories you burn per workout. In fact, over a couple of months, as your muscles become more efficient and coordinated, you can burn 10% less calories in the exact same workout. No fair, right? And that's before we even add into the mix the weight you've already lost, because a smaller body requires less energy or calories to physically move. So to keep getting results, you would have to keep doing more and more cardio. Now you might be thinking, what the hell? I am putting in all this effort to get diminishing results. Well, yes, but this is only when we're talking about cardio. When we talk about lifting weights though, it is a whole different ballgame. The efficiency thing is flipped and you actually do burn more calories the better you get at it, which is super important in the context of weight loss, because a calorie deficit, i.e. burning more calories than you consume, is the only way to force your body to use up your fat stores and therefore lose weight. So broadly speaking, you're going to want to decrease your daily calorie intake and increase your daily calorie burn. Before I understood how all this worked, I was always focusing on which workout was going to burn the most calories. I didn't get why people online kept banging on about strength training for weight loss when my watch told me that my cardio workouts burn way more calories. And this is where I was entirely missing the point, because when it comes to weight loss, exercise isn't even the biggest tool that you have in your toolbox. Nutrition is. Exercise is more like the cherry on top. From your 30s onwards, you lose up to 8% of your muscle mass every decade if you're not actively working to keep it. And when it comes to fat loss specifically, this is a bigger problem than people realize, because muscle is your metabolic engine. Lose muscle and your metabolism slows down, your insulin sensitivity drops, your body stores more of what you eat as fat rather than burning it as fuel, which means fat loss becomes harder and harder. So if you have limited time to work out, just like me and most of my clients, using the precious time you do have on the treadmill trying to burn calories rather than in the weight section trying to build muscle is a bit of a waste of your time, because there are other parts of the metabolism puzzle which can create a calorie deficit without even stepping foot in the gym. Because exercise only makes up a very small part of your total daily calorie burn, also known as your TDEE. You've got your basal metabolic rate, which is your baseline calories just needed to run your body. Then your non-exercise activity, which we're going to call NEAT, because that's a mouthful. And that's things like your daily steps. Then we've got exercise activity. And finally, the thermic effect of food, which is the calories used in digestion. And I'm not going to go into detail on that one today. So when it comes to weight loss, your goal is to increase your overall TDEE and eat less calories than that total number, resulting in a calorie deficit and therefore weight loss. When I finally understood how those different parts of your metabolism interact, it finally clicked why those 6 or 7 hours of cardio a week weren't as effective as I first thought. The first reason we've covered. My body was getting smaller and more efficient, so my exercise activity thermogenesis, my EAT, got lower, and my calorie deficit therefore got smaller, even with the same level of exercise. The second is because that combo of eating low calorie and doing all that cardio left me so depleted and exhausted. As the weeks went on, I wasn't pushing myself in each class anymore. I was burning less in each session for this reason too. And that's in the classes that I even showed up for, because staying consistent began to feel so hard. And I would have weeks where I'd only make it to 1 or 2 classes because I just didn't have the energy or the motivation. So my EAT dropped again. And it wasn't just my workouts. My motivation to do anything tanked. I counted down to being able to just crash out on the sofa now. So my non-exercise activity tailed off too. With a desk job and a car-based commute, my steps dropped to like 2,000 a day. I didn't even realise this because I didn't track my steps back then. I now know this was a terrible trade-off. 6 to 7 hours working out felt like I was doing loads. But my NEAT concurrently dropped, and that cancelled out all my effort. Across my weekly classes, I was burning around 3,500 calories, which is the amount needed to lose 1 pound of fat. But the thing that nobody tells you is I could have burned the exact same calories just from getting 10,000 steps a day. Yep, this much fat every week just from walking. And I wouldn't have felt as tired nor as hungry. Which leads me on to the third reason that all those sweaty sessions sabotage my progress: the cardio hunger. High intensity cardio quickly burns through the energy that is stored inside each muscle cell. And afterwards, your body naturally thinks, oh, we need to replenish it. Quick, we better eat. So it ramps up your hunger hormones, and for some women, your cortisol, your stress hormone too, leaving you in a battle with carb cravings and struggling to stick to your diet for the rest of the day. So the calories in part of my equation became harder and harder to keep in check too. And my deficit got smaller again. Now, I don't want this to come across as cardio is bad. It definitely isn't, and it definitely has its place. It's so important for your cardiovascular health. And if you love running or cycling or your favorite HIIT class, it is a surefire way to stay consistent with exercise. So definitely keep it up. But when your goal is weight loss, too much intense cardio can backfire. All of a sudden, that calorie deficit that you thought you were sweating your ass off to create, nowhere to be seen. So my next step in my cardio journey was to slow things down. If intensity was the problem, then it was time to embrace low intensity, steady state cardio. LISS, zone 2, fat burning zone. I got a fitness watch. I started trying to run in that fat burning zone, but I genuinely could not go slowly enough. It just kept beeping at me the whole time. I was like, for fuck's sake, I can't even run slowly properly. It was just another way that I was failing at this whole losing weight and getting healthy thing. But the fact is, I just got sucked in by the name of it. Fat burning zone sounds like you've unlocked this special mode where fat will just melt off your body. But that is not what it means. Your body has two fuel systems: fats stored in your fat cells and carbs in the form of glycogen, which are kept in your muscle cells and your liver. It's a bit like a hybrid car. It uses different fuels for different types of activity. When you move at a slower pace, your body does use more fat for fuel. And when you do those high intensity classes, it draws more on carbs. But weight loss isn't about which fuel source you're using at any one point. It's about the whole amount of energy or fuel that you burn across the whole day compared to what you ate. You can stay in the fat burning zone for an hour, but if you eat back those calories later, your body has no reason to touch that stored body fat. So low intensity fat burning cardio isn't the miracle it seems to be. But it is great because it is less taxing on your system, so it doesn't spike hunger and stress in the same way.
You don't even need to find that elusive running pace that had me so frustrated, because actually, fast walking is a way better way to get this kind of cardio in, especially if you're new to exercise or you have little joint niggles. Imagine you're brisk walking because you're late for an appointment rather than needing to sprint for a bus. And seeing as this isn't going to get you super sweaty, you can fit little bursts of it in throughout your day. 20 to 30 minutes of this brisk walking hits the recommended activity guidelines that we should all be aiming for, regardless of weight loss goals, to boost heart health and reduce your risk of dying early by an amazing 30%.
And if you can't get out for a walk one day, just tag some cardio onto the end of one of your strength training sessions. I'll often hit the stair climber or the treadmill for 15 minutes when I've done my weights. I'm already there, I'm already warm, I'm not having to find another workout to squeeze in my week somewhere.
And talking of weights, this is what finally convinced me to swap those hours of cardio a week for just 3 lifting sessions. And honestly, one of them is still just using dumbbells right in my kitchen.
When I was trying to figure out this whole weight loss thing, nobody told me how strength training actually works. Everyone just said I should be doing it without explaining why I needed to build more muscle or how to build it. I used to wander into the weight section of the gym with absolutely no idea what I was doing. So I stuck to the machines because they felt safe. But I never worked up a sweat, so honestly I just doubted that this was really the answer to all my problems. The thing is, I wasted so many hours lifting weights that were too light and training areas of my body that I now know made hardly any difference to the number on the scale. Like, I hated my inner thighs. I used to do 20, 30, 40 reps on the leg adduction machine over and over, hoping to slim these bad boys down. No one stopped me and said, hey, You're not burning any fat there, you're just building up some endurance in your inner thighs. What I needed to understand were the 4 pillars of lifting for weight loss. Number 1, bigger muscles burn more calories. Those inner thigh muscles, not tiny, but look at them compared to your hamstrings or your glutes or your back muscles. Here's what most people don't realize when they start in the gym. The bigger the muscle, the more calories it burns during your workout and after your workout as well. So if you're doing tons of inner thigh exercises, because that's an area that you want to change, you're actually choosing one of the least effective exercises for getting rid of body fat. Sadly, we have zero control over which fat stores our body decides to use up first. This is mostly decided by genetics. So instead of obsessing over the areas you don't like, you want to focus on burning as much fat as possible overall, and you're going to do that by working your biggest muscle groups, your glutes, your back, your chest, your legs. Pillar number 2 takes that first one to the next level. Because when you combine more than one muscle group at a time, you get even more calorie burn. This type of exercise is called a compound movement. So instead of thigh adductions, we do squats, which train your quads, hamstrings, glutes, and still train your adductors. Instead of bicep curls, we do rows because they use tons of muscles in your back and your core and your biceps. Don't worry, you don't need to become an anatomy geek. A quick way to sense check any exercise is, does more than one joint need to move? If so, it's a compound exercise. So, let's take tricep extensions as an example. Only my elbows are moving right now. So this is not a compound, just wash myself on the head, not a compound exercise. Whereas a deadlift, both my hips and my knees move. So this is a compound movement. And if you want to keep it even simpler, just press pause and screenshot this workout because it is built around these exact principles. Okay, next. You know earlier when I mentioned with the cardio fitness penalty, you burn less calories as you get fitter and your body becomes more efficient? Well, pillar number 3 is how you burn more calories as you get stronger when it comes to strength training. Because of the muscle metabolism multiplier effect. That is a mouthful. When you have a small amount of muscle, you burn a small amount of calories in each workout. But when you have a lot of muscle, you burn more calories. So clearly you want to be at this end of the graph and build more muscle, which means you'll burn more calories. To build that muscle, you need to be training with something called progressive overload. Rather than cruising through your sets, you need to lift a weight that feels genuinely challenging. Not like this. If you really have to push that last rep out though, your body registers that you weren't quite strong enough. So after your workout, while you're just getting on with your life, your body rebuilds that muscle and adds on a teeny bit more to make you stronger so that next time you can do that rep. Next session, you're going to try and do one more or maybe try a heavier weight, and guess what? You'll be able to do it. And that's because you built a bit more muscle. And the good thing about that is by boosting the muscle metabolism multiplier effect, you're going to be burning more calories. So when you apply this and you do one more rep or go for a little bit of a heavier weight every time, your body goes, okay, we need a bit more muscle again, and on it goes. So not only do you now burn more calories in every workout, you're also going to be burning more calories in recovery because you have to literally repair and build new muscle after each session. Not using progressive overload will be the reason that you feel like weights is a waste of time because you are not challenging your body enough. I see this with clients all the time because women really don't know how strong we actually are. So often we aren't lifting anywhere near our strength ceiling that would trigger the body to develop extra muscle or strength. You probably already lift heavy things all the time without thinking twice about it. You're carrying kids or hauling shopping bags or moving stuff around the house. You do it constantly, but then you go to the gym and you wonder if you should pick up the 8-pound weight or the 10-pound weight for squats. Okay. I was in the gym with a client once. First time she'd ever used a leg press. She got the little pin, she went to set it at 50 pounds. I kind of looked at her and I asked her, how much do you weigh? She said, 190 pounds. Okay, I was like, I know she's got a son. How heavy is your son? 30 pounds. All right. Do you ever carry him upstairs? She said, of course I do, every day. And I said, all right, you are carrying 220 pounds up a flight of stairs, and that's with one leg doing the work at a time. You're now sat on a machine using both of your legs about to push, and you think you're only going to be able to do 50 pounds. She looked at me for a second like I was a bit nuts, and then her brain caught up with what I was getting at. And that client left the gym that day leg pressing over double what she thought she could. I will bet money on it that you underestimate your strength just like she did. You just haven't been in a situation where you've been able to measure your true capacity yet. So here's a quick way to check if you're using the right weight next time you're in the gym. Do your prescribed number of reps, and when you finish your set, put the weight down for 3 to 5 seconds. After that little break, pick it back up. If you could do 5 more reps, that weight was too light. You want to be at the point where you could only just about do 1 more rep after that micro break. Use that weight as your start point to begin your progressive overload. And then the final one. Pillar number 4 is keep it real simple. You do not need to learn a gazillion different moves or mix it up to keep your body guessing. That's actually a terrible way to maximize weight loss. Because if you put the last 3 pillars together, logically, the best way to get really good results is repeat the same large compound moves frequently so you get better and you get stronger at them very quickly. My workouts have been based around the same 6 movements more or less for the last decade. We call them the big 6 at Body Smart: a squat, a hinge, a overhead pull, a horizontal pull, a horizontal push, and an overhead push. I'm actually planning on making a video about the big 6 in my next couple of videos as it happens. So let me know in the comments, what exactly do you want to know? What would be helpful to get you in the gym and get you feeling confident in doing each of those moves? And I'll make sure to include it. Doing the same 6 exercises might sound a bit boring, but when you're training with intention and you're getting stronger every week, it's actually really satisfying to see how quick you progress. And even better, it's so effective that you only need to train 2 or 3 times a week for 30 to 45 minutes. You don't even need a gym membership. You just need a pair of adjustable dumbbells and a mat. I am in better shape now, even after having my second baby, with just these 3 workouts a week than I ever was doing hours and hours of that sweaty cardio. My body is lean and strong, and my clothes fit nicely, and my metabolism is high because all that muscle I've been building burns calories 24/7, which makes keeping the weight off so much easier too. All right then, Pilates. If you have ever tried it, you will know it is not one of those sweaty classes where you are going to burn hundreds and hundreds of calories. But I wanted to talk about it because it's having a bit of a moment on social media at the moment. And I have spoken to tons of women who've been told that they shouldn't be doing too much cardio because it will spike their cortisol, or they need to take it easier on their joints. And I'm not even talking about old women. I'm talking about women in their 30s and their 40s. Now, there are grains of truth in some of those statements, but in reality, you don't want to be swapping all your cardio and all your weights just for Pilates, especially if weight loss is your goal. And although Pilates, especially reformer, does use your muscles, it doesn't quite challenge them in the same way or use progressive overload to the extent that you need to create that muscle growth that we talked about earlier. You will get that Pilates shake and burn, but that is more fatigue rather than pushing your muscles to the threshold of your strength, causing them to respond by building more muscle. So you could do Pilates for months, feel like you're working really hard in every session, but your body fat won't melt off, your muscle mass won't change tons, and your metabolism will stay about the same. Okay. And that's not to say that Pilates is pointless. It is definitely not. I love it, and I am here every single Friday because it is amazing for your body awareness, your mobility, your flexibility, your core strength, your posture, which, let's face it, most of us need a bit of help with from sitting at desks too long or carrying and feeding babies. I see it more as my prehab. It keeps my core and my pelvic floor mobile and strong. It helps me address any muscle imbalances. It stabilizes my joints. And all of this means that I can do more in my strength training workouts. And they're what's actually going to help you with your weight loss goals. Pilates is like a supporting role in my weekly training plan. I absolutely love it. I'm going to be doing it forever, but it is still not a great weight loss tool. So if you're wondering what your week of exercise should look like to maximize fat loss, here's what I recommend prioritizing. First up, steps. Shoot for 8 to 10k steps and you will burn 400 to 500 calories per day without even stepping foot in a gym. Then your weight sessions, 3 times a week, 30 to 45 minutes. You want to train with progressive overload to maintain and build that all-important muscle and keep your metabolism high. Then cardio, even if that's just tagging 15 to 20 minutes onto the end of your weight sessions, or if you love to run or get your sweat on in a class, then go for it a couple of times a week. And then finally, and as a cherry on top really, Pilates or yoga or any other sports that you play just because you enjoy it. This is the stuff that you do because it makes you feel good. And that is important. To be honest, has a huge power in itself because you will want to show up, and being consistent with exercise will feel easy when you like doing the thing you like doing. And that's really the whole point of this approach in general. It's not supposed to leave you exhausted and depleted like all that cardio did for me back when I was struggling. It's supposed to feel doable and leave you energized so that you want to be consistent with exercise, and that helps you keep the weight off long term. Exercise is just one part of how you do that though. So you need to watch this video next where I'll walk you through the other 5 steps you need to lose weight and keep it off forever.